Good morning, women of quality. On behalf of President Steve Ender and the GRCC Board of Trustees, I want to give you a warm welcome to Grand Rapids Community College. We are delighted to have so many young leaders, current leaders, and future developing leaders here today. It's really our pleasure to host you, and we hope you have a wonderful day. Leah has been very conscientious in noting all of the good folks who've done work on this conference. And I would be very remiss if I didn't say that Leah Nixon, our Director of Communications, is awesome. She and Art Johnson, who was also mentioned, are the real hand, okay, yeah, all right. Are the real sparks behind this event, and they have done a wonderful job, and I'm really, really grateful that I can call them my colleagues. Our committee chose as a theme for today what we wish we'd known when we were starting out. And I thought a little bit about this, and it's amazing to me how many things I could list. But I wanted to list two that I think maybe are pertinent for today. I wish I had known the importance of the mentors that I met along the way. I was kind of busy just trying to get going, get a career started, get an education. And it's really amazing to me now, a few years beyond that time, how important the women and men I met around during my journey were, how important they were to me, and how important they still are, and I still have those relationships. So I encourage you to keep that in mind and to listen carefully, listen thoughtfully, contribute because mentors learn from their mentees. And be aware of the women and men who help you along the way. There's a saying that I've always appreciated. It's a saying that I've heard at MIAs, lift as you climb. So your journey will be richer as you grow and you help others to grow as well. Today may just be a day where you'll meet some future mentors. We hope it is. The other thing I wish I had known, I don't want to shock anybody, but I was sort of a bookish, very studious type. My social life happened in the library. Woohoo! There's some of you out there. I know you're there. Okay. And that's great. You should study hard, be thoughtful, do your work. But I really wish I had understood the importance of making connections and of networking when I was beginning my career, because that is equally important. The people you meet along the way, the skills you develop in meeting those people are going to be key. And so today, I hope you realize, is a great networking opportunity for you here. So those are just two of the things that I wish I'd known. If anybody wants to stop me later, I've got more. But again, welcome. We are happy to have you here, and I hope you have a wonderful day.
So with that said, we will kick our day off. We would like to welcome our keynote speaker, Megan Saul. We are very excited to have her here today. Megan currently serves as an engagement manager at CQL, a custom software development firm in Grand Rapids, whose mission is to connect people and data for good. In her role, she focuses on finding business opportunities, growing relationships with customers, and engaging with the West Michigan community. Prior to joining CQL, Megan spent over a decade working in the public and nonprofit sector, most recently with The Right Place, Inc., the local economic development organization representing Kent County and other parts of the region. Her career also includes time with International City County Management Association in Washington, D.C., where she worked on a USAID project in Afghanistan. She has worked on several state and congressional campaigns, and she got her start in local government at the City of Wyoming, where she served in administrative and economic development positions. Megan holds a BA in International Relations and an MPA from Grand Valley State University. She remains close to the university, serving on the Board of Trustees, the alumni chapter for the School of Public, Nonprofit, and Health Administration, and as a mentor for the Cook Leadership Academy. She also serves on the Board of Directors for Hello West Michigan. In conjunction with her professional pursuits, Megan is a traveler, foodie, eternal optimist, and extreme extrovert. She enjoys spending time with family and friends, loves discussing great ideas, and constantly looks for ways to connect all of the amazing people and opportunities here in our community. So without further ado, Megan, we'd like to welcome you today.
Good morning, everyone. I'm super happy to be here. If it's okay, if the folks in the back can still see me, I tend to move around a lot, so I may not stand behind here. So I'm just curious to know if I'm down here, can you still see me back there? Okay, great. I want to thank Leah for the kind introduction and GRCC for hosting, and then my ACE council and everyone for putting this together today. Leah was really kind in reading off a list of things, and it probably sounds like a long list of maybe important things, but I will also say that I'm a human, and if you run into me on the weekend, I'll probably be wearing jeans and a t-shirt and my Toms. I may be coming from yoga and be a super hot mess. So one thing I want us all to remember here today is no matter what I share with you or what I tell with you, I'm just a human like you all are, and we're all doing this for the first time, right? Raise your hand if anyone has ever lived life before this, right? I was actually at yoga the other day, and my instructor was saying, I know we have some newbies in the room. Raise your hand if you've done this before, and or for the newbies, she said, raise your hand if you know how to do this, if you know all the poses, whatever. And she said, right, if you're new and you knew how to do all the things, that would be weird. And I said, right. And so just a reminder, we're all doing this for the first time, right? So today's conversation, I'm going to tell you a little bit about me. I am very much over this thing that we tend to do as women where we compare ourselves with each other without having full context of who each other is. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about me. We're going to talk about my career path, which has an interesting twist as of this week, which I will tell you about. I'm going to discuss some things I wish I had known, and just like the provost stated, there's so many things, right? And so I already know I'm going to give you too many. Don't try to remember them all. Don't even try to write them all down. Just find one or two that tend to resonate and stick with those. But I'm going to share some of those ideas with you. And then I'm going to encourage you all to go be fabulous, because that's what the world needs. So a bit about me. This is the Saul family circa 1984. My niece Lindsay is here, right over here. So this is actually her father. So these are my parents, my oldest brother Todd, my brother Tim and Trent, and then my sister and I. And as you can tell, my sister and I are adopted. Funny thing that happened in my family, I was in middle school, we used to have family dinners, and my mom would sit at this end, and my dad over here, and my sister here, and me on this side. And my brothers were out of the house by then. And I looked at my mom, and I looked at my sister, and I looked at my dad, and I looked at my sister, and I said, we don't really look that different from you, do we? And they thought it was the funniest thing they had ever heard. But being adopted, I grew up in West Michigan, and this is all I've ever known. So I have a bit of an interesting perspective that way. I will say, too, my parents have been married for 53 years, which is longer than a lot of us have been alive, right? And I always tell my mom, you guys are halfway to eternity with how long you've been married, and it's kind of amazing. Lindsay and I, each year, I think their anniversary rolls around, it's January 10. We have this old black and white photo of them from when they were walking down the aisle. And they were 19 and 21 and super young and just dove right in, and they just made it happen, which has been great. So I've been really blessed with an awesome family. All my siblings are married and have kids. I have 14 nieces and nephews. I have 2 great nephews. I've got godkids. So I don't have any of my own, and I'm single, and I only say that for later in the conversation, but not because I want you all to tell me about the single people you know. That's not the point. And I know you're all thinking that, so. I grew up in Allendale and Hudsonville. I went to high school in Traverse City, a little bit of college in Chicago. I've kind of been all over since then, which we'll talk about, and then came back and finished at Grand Valley. And now I've been back in Grand Rapids for about 5 years. I live in East Hills. I love Grand Rapids. I love being a Grand Rapidian. And yeah, it's a good time to be in West Michigan. The first thing that I wanted to talk about is the fact that I wish I would have known that my career path wasn't going to follow a straight line. Right, so a lot of you right now are thinking about, okay, so I'm gonna graduate and then I'm gonna take this position and then I'm gonna take this position and then by the time I'm 35, I should be about here, and then if I go back to school and do this, then I can get here. And in our heads, right, we plan out this very linear place, right? Well, I'm gonna tell you this, I'm gonna demonstrate what my career path has looked like. Kind of like this. And then I would do a somersault, except I would probably break the microphone or something, and a couple twists like this, and then it backs up, and then you kind of end up back where you belong, right? So I will tell you, and hopefully I will have a visual to show you. Yes, thank you. Okay, so this is what my career path has looked like. And so I'm gonna speak a little bit of this out loud for you. So I went to school in Chicago for a couple years, had big grandiose plans to be a businesswoman with an office on Michigan Avenue. I went so far as to say that I wanted to have a male secretary, which was really sort of reverse sexist thing to say, but that's where my brain was at the time. I wanted to be a big deal, and I wanted the world to know. So I'm in school in Chicago, and I decide to study abroad, and I go to Mexico. And I'm living in Mexico, and for the first time in my life, I'm outside of West Michigan, and I'm realizing that the rest of the world does not live like I do, right? And that was shocking to me. I lived in a capital city in Morelia, which is the capital of Michoacan, if anyone's familiar. And my roommate and I lived with a host family, and we walked down the main street like a mile to school every day. And because it was a capital city, you had government officials there, you had business owners there, and you had, regular folks like myself and my roommate, right? So every day I was walking down the street and I was seeing Mercedes drive down the street next to farmers coming in from the countryside with their produce and other things for the day. And I was just confronted with this very real dichotomy, right, of how life is for some people and not for others. So I got back to the States and I was just very unsettled about it. And I had a friend in a missions organization called YWAM. And she started talking to me. She said, maybe you need a break. Maybe you need to go explore some of these other feelings that you're having. And I'm like, well, I don't know, but okay. So I kept thinking about it. Couldn't get it out of my brain. So I decided, okay, I'm going to leave school and I'm going to go pursue this YWAM thing. My parents freaked out, as you can imagine. They're like, what? You're never going to finish? And I said, no, I think I'll finish, right? Like I knew myself. I knew I was going to finish. So I joined the YWAM organization and did sort of a humanitarian training school with them. They had a history of doing work at the Olympics, so I actually got to move to Athens the summer of 2003 in the lead up to the Olympics, and was there for about a year and a half doing marketing communications and making Greek friends, which was fabulous. And I have to tell you the funniest thing, so through my local Starbucks barista, because that's how you make friends at the coffee shop in Greece, I had this group of 5 Greek friends, and they were all my age, and we would hang out, and we would drive to the sea and do fun stuff. Anyways, they all sold Amway, right? Like, I travel halfway around the world, and I have these friends, and they're all selling Amway, and so when I told them I was from Grand Rapids, they thought it was the coolest thing ever. They're like, oh my gosh, do you know Ada, Michigan? I was like, I do know Ada, Michigan. Yeah, it was pretty hilarious. So, I lived in Greece for a year and a half, and I came home and decided it was time to finish school. So went to Grand Valley, worked on campus there in the Patnos International Center, which is the study abroad office, made some wonderful friends there, sent students and friends and colleagues across the world to study and see new things. One summer while I was at Grand Valley, I was living up north in Traverse City, and there were some state senate campaigns going on, and someone from my department at school had sent out an email that just said, hey, we're looking for some interns to help knock doors and walk in parades and that kind of stuff. And I've always been a little bit politically inclined. I thought, well, this sounds fun. You know, I can do that. So I volunteered that summer and ended up having the best time. I mean, I know we just got through a terrible election and it sounds horrible, but at the time, it was fun, and I got to see Northern Michigan and meet new people and have a new experience, and it was really great. So from there, when I finished at Grand Valley my last semester, I did an internship. Think about internships, right? With the city of Wyoming. My big project was talking about youth violence, because at the time we were having some gang activity. So that was my project, and while I was working in the city manager's office as intern, their executive assistant left. And so at the time, they said, we would like you to think about applying for this job, but I had my sights set on DC at that time. I wanted to go, I wanted to do international development, I wanted to save the world. And they said, okay, but you know, we can maybe help you with your master's if you stay, and some other things. And so I thought about it and I said, that makes sense, I'm gonna stay, I'm gonna learn, get some experience. And I did. I worked for the city for about 3.5 years. I did get my master's during that time, which was great, and learned a lot. So the spring of 2010, this candidate that I had worked for back in 2006 decided he was going to run for Congress. And he called me up out of the blue, and he said, we're running for Congress, come work the campaign. When we win, you can come to DC with me and work on the Hill. And I thought, oh my gosh, all my dreams are coming true. I'm going to DC. This is going to be so great, right? So I leave the city of Wyoming. I bawled my eyes out the last day I was there because I loved it so much, but bawled my eyes out. Went and worked on this congressional campaign. We were covering Michigan's 1st district, which is, if you get your hands out, so the entire UP, right, and then all of northern lower. So the 2nd largest congressional district in the country outside of northern Maine, 31 counties. To drive from Lansing to the western edge of the UP takes the same amount of time as it takes to drive from Lansing to DC. So huge district, and I was the scheduler, which was a very challenging task. And due to campaign finance rules and other things, he couldn't take private planes and stuff like that. So it was a long, busy summer, and we ended up losing by 15 votes in the primary. So what was probably most sad that summer is that we had an office across from the lake, and I didn't step foot in the lake all summer because we were always working, but that's okay. So, did not go to DC, very sad. Worked in the state senate for a couple months to sort of get me through, and then applied for a job with ICMA, which is International City County Management Association. ICMA is the local government, the national organization for local government officials, which we were members of when I was at the City of Wyoming. So we're seeing these connections, right? So I went to work for ICMA, and they had an international division, and they were working on international development projects all over the world, but some in Afghanistan. And I'm a bit of a wanderer, and I love travel and new things, and I said, oh yeah, I'll go to Afghanistan. That sounds great. So I actually worked out of the home office in DC most of the time, but I did get to go to Afghanistan the summer of 2011, and wouldn't you know, the people there, humans, just like us. They were amazing, right? Like we would interview them for jobs, and they wanted to put food on the table and provide for their families and do all the same things that we do. They've just been given a very different set of circumstances under which to do it. So worked at ICMA for a year, kind of got tired of my cubicle life. I would have much rather been in the field all the time, but that wasn't an option. So had the opportunity to come back and work for The Right Place, another organization that I had known from working at the City of Wyoming. The Right Place is the economic development organization for West Michigan. They do business retention, expansion, and attraction. So when you see the news about a company adding 50 jobs and investing, or a new company coming to town, or just generally manufacturers staying here in West Michigan, that's the kind of work they're doing. So I spent 4 years with them and decided that I was ready for a change. As you can see, all of this work was public and nonprofit, and I wanted to know how the business world existed and how that ran. So I had a good relationship with CQL, which is the firm I'm with now, and knew the president there, and he said, we will take a chance on you. And I said, great, because I'm not really technical at all. And he said, that's okay, that's okay. He said, we like who you are as a person. Come learn some things. So I did a year of project management there, and then have rolled into the engagement side. There is now up until a couple days ago, this did not exist on this slide, but actually just yesterday, and this is life coming full circle, I just signed a letter of employment with the city of Wyoming to go back as the assistant city manager. Their assistant, thank you. Their assistant just retired, and the opening came open, and this role is all about economic development and downtown development and communications and community engagement and all the stuff that I have done. And so as of May 1st, this is where that will go. So I suppose I should have drawn an arrow back there, but then the slide just would have been a mess. So that's kind of my progression. Along the way, I've learned a lot of things. So again, when you think about your career and where you're going, I would encourage you not to stress so much about making sure everything lines up, right? Just figure out what the next right thing is for you to do and work really hard and figure out what you can learn there, and then trust that the next place is going to get you to where you need to go. And I remember I read an article in Fast Company a couple years ago, and they talked about our career paths as concentric circles and how they're not really lines anymore, but we'll do something over here, and then maybe something over here, and then here. And eventually we will sort of narrow down where we want to go, right in the middle, right? But it might take us a few different tries and opportunities to figure out what that is, and that's okay. So unfortunately, one of the things I wish I would have known is that the choices don't get any easier. I was just reading about this interesting study that a professor did at Swarthmore. Everybody say Swarthmore. Yeah, it's kind of a weird word, right? But Swarthmore College, there's a professor there named, I'm going to forget his name now. His last name is Schwartz. And he did the study and a later report called The Tyranny of Choice, right? So I wish I should have taken a picture of it. This morning, if you were to go to my house right now, you would find about 7 outfits laying on my bed because I could not decide what I wanted to wear this morning, right? And I'm fortunate, I shouldn't even say that, I'm fortunate, right, that I have choices in my closet because some people don't have that. This study is all about how, because we have so much choice these days, it's hard to be happy. First of all, I can't even tell you how many days of my life I have lost worrying about choices that I had to make. A lot related to career. If I take this job, or if I take this job, or what if I do this class, or should I join this organization, or, I mean, days of my life that have been erased because I have been worrying about these things. And I would imagine it's probably the same for some of you as well, right? So the study purports that, first of all, we are all a little depressed because we have to make so many choices, and we get so nervous and we get so upset about having to figure out and worrying that we're going to make the exact right one. And then the thing that's also hard is once we make a choice, it's really easy for us to think, well, so I made this choice, but I don't know if I'm happy with it because I can imagine that if I had made a different choice, that maybe I would be happier right now, right? So the study goes on to say after that maybe it's not about the exact choice that we make, right? Choices are important, but once we make that choice, maybe it's about just like sticking to it and deciding to be happy with that, and then figuring out who are we going to be after we make that choice. So right now, you know, maybe you're looking at a couple different job offers. Maybe you're deciding, should I take this graduate fellowship, or should I launch into full-time work, or should I go get my graduate degree, or should I stay in West Michigan, or should I move to Chicago? You know, chances are all of those choices are really good choices, right? But what you need to think about is, what kind of person am I going to be after I make that choice? How am I going to carry that out? And I've had plenty of situations where I've made a choice and I've realized that, oh, maybe this isn't the best one. But then I've had to decide for me, okay, what am I going to do to make the most out of this choice that I have made? How do I find the positives? What can I learn out of this situation? I have this new philosophy that dream jobs, while it's fun to ask people, what would your dream job be? I would be the Princess of Wales. Obviously, that's not happening anytime soon. So when it comes to careers and jobs and dream jobs, I always tell people, figure out what you need next. What do you need most, right? If there's 7 things you want out of a job, maybe find one that has 3 or 4 and work those as much as you can. And then once you get that and you figure out what the next thing is, then go do that. Maybe starting out you need a network, so you need to find a job that's going to give you a lot of exposure to the community or to other people you want to be around. Maybe you need flexibility because you have a family, or you have parents that you need to care for, or you want to go back for another degree. Maybe you need a really awesome mentor, and you know that if you go to XYZ, company, it might not be the exact position, but you get to work for that rock star CEO that you've heard about, and that's awesome, right? So when you think about your first steps, your next steps, what are those 1 or 2 things that you really need right now? Go get those, and then figure out what the next thing looks like from there. But dream job and choices and all that, I think we set ourselves up for a lot of disappointment because we expect so much all the time. And I'm not saying lower your expectations by any means, but just be thoughtful about what we're looking for and what people and environments can actually give to us. So all that to say, when you're thinking about choices, right, let's save some of our lives and not get stuck in this paralysis. You've all heard the paralysis of analysis. That's something I do very well, and it doesn't really get us places, right? So think things through. Find my niece Lindsay and I, we process together quite often. We talk things through, and then trust yourself, make a decision, and then go with that, and just focus on who you're going to be and how you're going to carry that out. One thing I wish I would have known is to never underestimate the power of the gatekeeper. So my first job at the City of Wyoming, essentially I answered phones for the city manager. I did a lot of other things, but I answered phones. And you know what? That was one of the best jobs I ever had because I gained his entire network by answering his phones and talking to all his people, and it was amazing. He was also, the provost talked about bringing people up as we go, and he was one of those. He pushed me, and he encouraged me, and he reminded me that I could do things that I didn't think I could do. I had been at the city for about 1.5 years when he said, I think you're ready for a new role. You're going to do this now. And I said, whoa, are we sure? Are we sure I can do that, right? We're all full of self-doubt. And he said, yeah, I'm sure you can do that. So you're going to do that unless you really don't want to. And I said, no, you're right. I think I can do this. And if you think I can, then I'm sure I can. So I want you all to look around the room because there, as the provost talked about mentorship, right? All of us in this room, we don't know all of you, but I dare say we'd all say that we believe that you can do things that you probably don't think you can do right now, right? And so again, find those people in your life who are willing to tell you those things and remind you of those things and hang on to them because we are always our own worst critics, right? And if it were up to us, we probably wouldn't get very far. So find the other people in your life who can be champions. So again, when you're thinking about careers and what comes next, some of the entry-level positions that are out there, you probably read the description, you're like, really? Do I have to do this? But don't underestimate those roles. They can get you places. They can afford you things. They can open doors that you might not expect. Through that, I wrote Network Your Brains Out. It is all about connections, especially in West Michigan. This is a small town. People know each other. Not that, I guess I want to temper that by saying not in an unfair sort of way, but it's helpful. And I'll tell you, I know a lot of recruiters these days, and when they get a stack of resumes this high, it's really hard to know who someone is from a piece of paper, right? I mean, how do you know? They could be a robot for all you know. Who knows? So if you know someone that can say, oh, yeah, that's Sarah. She's sending her resume over. She is awesome with community relations. She's so good with clients, yada, yada. You need to have those connections. You need to find those people who, again, can help advocate for you. But everywhere you go, again, I've referenced yoga, running clubs, if you're in a mom's group, I mean, you never know where you can make connections with people at the gym, standing in line at Freshie. I don't know. There's so many places, but in this town, people are nice and they're willing to offer up connections and whatnot. And so look for connections and build your network wherever you go. This one is big for me. So technical knowledge is great, but attitude is everything. You know, I spent a lot of time too figuring out, learning when I was in local government, all of the public acts and all of the rules and all the laws and this and that. And that's all great, and you need to be technically very good at what you're doing, right? But at the same time, your ability to be a real human with others, to get along, to be coachable, to be a team player is huge. So I'm on the board at Grand Valley, and we talk to our employers that take some of our students for internships and co-ops and whatnot, and we say, tell us how we're doing. What do people need to know? And they say, technically, the students are awesome. They know their stuff. They're really good. They're obviously very intelligent and very bright. but they always say what they could maybe need a little help with is soft skills, right? And so that's the how you act in the workplace, how you get along with others. Do you show up on time? Do you follow through on commitments? Are you accountable? Those are the kinds of things that I think really make the difference. When I lived in Athens, I went to an international church there, and there was a executive for Coca-Cola who went to the church. And he said to me, he said, Megan, he said, 85% of people's success, he said, from my perspective, is how you get along with others in the workplace. He said, I would much rather take someone who's coachable, who will learn, who is eager to try new things, who's willing to be a team player, over someone who knows all of the stuff. So think about that as you continue on. I mean, the technical part is great, and we all need to be very good at that, but how do you act in a workplace? Can you get along? That is so important to how well you will survive. I mean, survive a little bit, and also succeed. I will say too, as sort of an addendum to this, sometimes I wish I would have known that the workplace isn't all that different than middle school some days. I wish that were not the case, but I will say a special note about women too, and for the gentleman here, but for women, right? There's two general strains of thought about how you succeed, right? You can either do it by stepping on other women as you go, or by bringing them up as you go, again, to speak to what the provost said. And that happens, right? And so it's on us to make sure that we're doing it together and that we're not stepping on others. We're not gossiping about someone in the lunchroom. We're not, trying to undercut other people when it comes to projects. We're always giving our best. One thing I think that was hard for me transitioning from college is that you're always getting graded, right? In college, you get a grade, you get instant feedback on everything you do. That doesn't necessarily happen in the workplace. I mean, if you really screw up, you're gonna hear about it, right? But if you do a good job, you're not always gonna get a pat on the back. You're not always gonna get someone come up to you and say, hey, A+, great job, right? But excellence is always the standard. And so that's what you operate under. You show up at work. Work is a privilege, I think. It means that people respect us. They respect our abilities. So we show up. We give our best all the time. But you're not always going to get that feedback, always. So that's something to work out with your supervisor, right? If you're a person who's a high feedback person, you tell your supervisor. But then also learn what kind of communication style your supervisor has and what they might give to you. This whole notion, I find this in dating as well, that we expect other people to read our minds and know exactly what we need and want all the time, right? That's real hard. That's really hard. And so having the conversations and communicating with one another, I think, is really important. So I know that's a lot. Shoot, that is a lot to take in. So we're going to take a puppy break. This is actually Lindsay's dog, Millie the Labradoodle. Yesterday was National Puppy Day. I just thought we might need a minute to look at a cute dog. I was going to throw in a baby as well, but I thought that might be overkill, so this is Millie. Okay, so let's review a couple things. So your career path might not unfold in a straight line. The choices don't get any easier, so you got to learn to trust yourself and go from there. Never underestimate the power of the gatekeeper, so, network, take a closer look at roles, don't discount them right away. And then remember that technical knowledge is great, but attitude is everything. We're all just humans, like we talked about. So I put 20s here, you guys, I don't want to offend anyone. Your 30s, your 40s, your 50s, your 60s are all for hustling, right? But one of the things I will say, I was exhausted by the time I turned 30, exhausted, right? And I don't really advocate for people to do that, but at the same time, and especially where you're at in midlife, when it comes to kids and family and all that, when you can do it, go. Do all the things, try all the things. I think I sat on my first board when I was 23. Which I did not feel like I belonged there, but someone gave me the opportunity and I said yes. And throughout my 20s, I said yes to a lot of things. And again, there are some of them I probably should have said no. I probably would have slept a little more. I would have, I don't know, I might have exercised a little more. I might have done a lot of things, right? But I'm not mad about, now looking back, I'm not mad about all those things I did. I met people, I figured out what I did and didn't like. I learned new things. So this is your time, especially if you're not married and you don't have kids or whatever. Go try it all. Go figure out what is in the world. If that means travel, people hate that I say this, but if you're from West Michigan and you want to go somewhere else to live, do it. Go to Chicago, go to LA, go to Denver, go to Madagascar, go, and then come back, right? But West Michigan is a really special place. There's nowhere in the world like it. And you really can't understand that until you go somewhere else. I remember when I lived in DC, and customer service wasn't really a huge thing there. People just kind of expected everybody just sort of fend for themselves. And I remember when I moved home, I was at Martha's Vineyard up in the hill, and I was there literally for 3 seconds, and somebody popped out of an aisle and was like, "Hi, can I help you?" And I was like, what? Why is this person talking to me? And I literally had a moment where I thought, oh my gosh, this is customer service. I had literally forgotten what it was. And nothing against people in DC, but it was just a different place, right? But that's one of the special things about West Michigan. So if you need to go try something else, do it. The world is amazing, amazing, and it needs you. So go try other things, but then please do come back, especially, you know, if you get married and have kids and want free babysitting and you want to be able to buy a house and afford that all, come back. This is a big one. Success takes time. Raise your hand if you have Snapchat on your phone. Right, okay. The founder of Snapchat, Evan Spiegel, dude is 26 and he's a gazillionaire, right? It's really hard for me to not scroll through articles in my Facebook feed and my Instagram feed and say, why am I not a gazillionaire? What am I doing wrong? I should be doing something to change this. You know, Mark Zuckerberg, all these professional athletes and singers and all, you know, I always think, where's my success, right? Like, why isn't this happening for me? Well, first of all, I can't sing. I am not a tech, a tech founder. I'm in the industry now, but those people are anomalies, right? I mean, great job that they have done amazing things and that they have leveraged their knowledge and their networks and their resources and have grown these awesome companies. And I think in most cases, the world is a better place for it, but that is not normal. And I think it's really hard these days to not see those things and feel okay about where we're at. But success takes time, right? I've said that I've been working for over a decade, right? Like, I'm 34. I didn't graduate from college and become a CEO overnight. But I think that's what the world shows us right now. They're like, hey, you can do that. You know, you'll just be famous. You know, you shouldn't have to take an entry-level job, or you shouldn't have to do these things. But we've got work to do. We've got things to learn. I've got so many things to learn, right? And it takes time. And so you got to hang in there, and you got to see it through. And you got to give yourself a break sometimes as well, right? You don't need to kill yourself. We don't all need to be president tomorrow. I often remind people too, just be the best wherever you are. I talk to folks who are like, well, I'm not the chair of a board, and I'm not running this committee, and I'm not running the company. That's okay. Are you a volunteer? Be the best volunteer that organization has ever seen. Are you a wife and a daughter? Be the best wife, be the best daughter that the world has ever seen. People notice those things. You know, if you, I don't know, if you work at McDonald's, right? Be the best McDonald's employee that the world has ever seen. But if you excel wherever you are, people will notice. I mean, think about the group projects you've worked on in the past. You know who the person was. It was probably you guys. I mean, you're all here today. It was probably you. But you know the person who showed up, had their stuff on time, got the group organized, maybe contributed more than everyone else. Like, people remember those things, and they call that out. And they're much more apt to pull those people up first, right? So striving for excellence, again, excellence. Be the best wherever you are, be excellent wherever you are, and people will see that, and they will notice, and they will bring you along. But not overnight. This is close to one of my concluding thoughts, and this is one that I've been very, very bad at. And it's the idea that we belong at the table. So like I told you, I sat on my first board when I was 23, and I didn't know what I was doing. And somebody asked me, and because I say yes a lot, I said yes. But the entire time I was there, I didn't feel like I really belonged there. I was always nervous. I didn't really say much during meetings. And that has kind of continued throughout my life thus far. I'm glad to say I'm now recovering, and I'm better at belonging. But I think also, I'll be really honest, being adopted, I think I probably have some weird issues that I need to go see my therapist some more about belonging. Because, you know, I didn't come from here, right? I grew up here, but I didn't come from here. When you find yourself at a table, be grateful, be thankful, and then use your powers for good. I have spent the last decade of my life just being grateful for being at the table and not taking it the step further that I needed to. Sure, I'd like to think that I contributed somehow, or maybe spoke up a couple times, but we have to know fundamentally that we belong there, right? These tables that you're at right now, we belong at these tables. And then it's up to us to go the extra mile to what I call use our powers for good, to speak up for others, to give people our perspectives, to give people our opinions. And we may not be the oldest ones at the table, and we may not have the most experience, and so we respect those folks who do, but at the same time, we share our voice, and we lend the perspective that we bring, because that's what we've been given. And nobody needs to apologize for where we are in life or the experiences we've been given or what the world has handed to us, right? And so the reason you're at the table is probably because you were excellent and someone pulled you up, and now it's your job and your privilege and sort of your, it's our duty really to share who we are and to use our powers for good once we're there. I'm in my third year on the board of trustees at Grand Valley, and I feel like I'm finding my voice a little bit. And again, be respectful of the folks who've been there before you, certainly. But don't be afraid. If you're there, it's not an accident. So believe in yourself, believe that you belong there, and then use your powers for good once you get there. This is one of my favorite quotes of all time. I'm going to read it. I feel like I should get up and read this every day. I will say too, there's a reference to God here. When you hear that, just think of whatever image or not image you have for God. But I'm just going to read this real quick. By Marianne Williamson, and you probably know this. But our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, and fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? You are a child of God. Your playing small does not serve the world. There's nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. We were born to manifest the glory of God that is within us. It's not just in some of us, it is in everyone. And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others. You guys, it's scary to think, right? Like, what if I am amazing? What does that mean? What does that mean for the world? What does that mean for the choices that I make? What does it mean for my career? What does it mean for the people in the world around me, right? But all of us are amazing. Like I might get a little upset right now because I think you're all amazing and you don't even know that. And most of us go about our days thinking, oh, I'm not really, like, I'm doing okay, or it's cool that I get to live this life, but if people only knew that I was actually this, or that, well, that's not actually who we are. And so this is the scary thing, that you all can do things. You all can change the world, right? And I wish that I would have been kinder to myself and knowing that and living that every day. My friend Lizzie does this awesome thing where when she starts getting down on herself and she starts saying, oh, that was a dumb thing to do, or I wish you were smarter, or why aren't you trying harder? She imagines saying that to an imaginary daughter that she might have. And she always says, I would never say things like that to a daughter of mine. So why would I say that to myself, right? So you're all brilliant and gorgeous and talented, and you can do many, many things. We only just need to remind ourselves that that's the gift that's been placed within us, and that's now our responsibility to carry out. So with that, I just want to encourage you to go be fabulous, because the world needs you, right? This isn't about us. I mean, a lot of the things I've talked about today are very much you-centric about how your career is going to go and where it's going to go. But really, this is about greater good. This is about our community. This is about the world. And we all know the world is kind of a mess these days, right? I mean, it's hard to watch the news and to read things or whatever, but the world needs all of you to rise up, to take each other, and to go be fabulous. So you're already doing that, and by being here today, by learning things you're going to learn and sharing that with others when you leave. But this is my charge to you. I guess I wish I would have known this and owned this longer, and certainly throughout the years as I was coming up in my career, and so now this is my charge for all of you. So go be fabulous. Thanks.